Hey, everybody, how's it going? Here for another episode of How to Be a Texan.
Hi, how are you?
It's quite the intro. Wow.
Man, I'm just
Very
trying
joyful.
to
That was a nice
get
little
going.
giggle you had there, Andrew.
Thanks.
Well, happy day.
Just glad we've got Andrew on the microphone.
Man, it's good. We got Sammy on the laugh track coming around. It's all good. So we got some feng shui with our episode going here. So, hey, today we're going to talk about the farmer's market.
Not just in Portland.
What a crazy topic. Yeah.
Not just important.
That's the catchphrase of the farmers market subreddit that I was skimming through.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice.
That's a good way to look at it.
Hey, what do you think? Yeah, just top of mind. What do you think about the farmer's market?
Well,
Kevin?
we went to the farmer's market this past Saturday.
Yeah? Was
And we went to the Denton Community Market. Have you ever been there?
No.
Oh, it's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, it takes up a whole block right off of Carroll Street there, right as you're about to turn and go into the
I've
square.
driven by it a ton. I just never have stopped.
Yeah, it's great. All kinds of local farmers there selling. There's some that grow vegetables. They sell them there. We bought some vegetables. We bought a pork roast from a local farm. I barbecued it yesterday.
Yeah.
And then there's all kinds of little folks there. There's people there selling honey.
Oh.
You could totally have a stand out there.
Nice.
Yeah, they were talking about how their honey was better than Kirkpatrick Farm.
Oh,
that was their whole
really?
marketing.
Game on.
Yeah.
Me and my bees.
Catchphrase is better than Kyle.
Oh, boy.
There were guys out there selling like handmade knives and stuff, which are really cool.
Oh.
And woodworking, all kinds of little things out there. It's really cool. So it's just
Okay.
kind of where these local artisans and farmers and people that make crafts, they come together, they sell their stuff. They're really proud of it.
Wow.
And we like it. So we bought a bunch of veggies. We bought a bunch of tamales. We bought like 4 dozen homemade tamales that are in the freezer.
Oh, my
so
gosh.
we'll eat those
I
over the
love
week. Yeah.
homemade tamales.
Bought some ground beef from a local rancher. This dude out there with this cowboy hat on and everything. Just selling.
Really?
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool to support people like that.
Well, you don't think of meats, when like tamales or the brisket you bought, you don't think of meats at a farmer's market. You think of produce, vegetables, fruits, jellies, stuff like that. I don't think of meats when I think of a farmer's market.
There's just more of a trend now to support local, locally grown produce or local, livestock, meats. They're generally much higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not raised on like all the growth hormones and all that kind of the factory stuff.
Right.
These are local farmers that have raised it. They put care into it. They've done it humanely.
Right.
And the quality is just amazing. The
Wow.
quality of the meat's amazing.
Oh, I love it.
We remember a couple of years ago when we bought that pig and had it butchered and put in our freezer. I mean, that was the best pork
Right.
I've still ever had. Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just kind of those kind of folks out there selling their stuff.
I'll be.
And they have little business cards, and you can order off their website and stuff like that.
Huh. So today, so I appreciate that, Kevin, and that's a great experience because we have a local farmers market right here in Little Argyle where we live, and Amy and I like going out there and they
up there in Bartonville,
Yeah.
that one's cool
Just
too.
out here every
And that is
every
mostly
Saturday.
veggies and
Yeah.
But those folks have tamales too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tamales seem to be kind of a recurring.
Love
Trend.
tamales.
Man, those tamales from the Denton market were so good.
Andrew
Okay.
likes
And
tamales.
that salsa too.
Okay.
Sheesh.
Okay. That's good.
I can't get over it.
It's good to know. It's good to know.
I
Well,
have to turn your microphone off here in a
if
minute.
we look at the history of the farmers market, so I just looked this up, and farmers market's a very Texas thing. So again, going back to why we do this show is how to be a Texan is. I'm sure there are farmers markets all over the country.
Well, like Andrew said, it's kind of the Portland thing right now.
Yeah, well, but
It's up in the
was
Pacific Northwest.
It was probably the Massachusetts thing first.
Well,
because according to the history that I saw, the first farmers market, this was colonial, came up in 1634 in Boston, Massachusetts. And it was just a great place for people to come and sell their wares, But it also says you can go all the way back to Egyptian days, 5,000 years ago, where the farmers would come along the Nile and sell their produce and goods.
Well, it makes sense. I think, back before the Industrial Revolution, when the world was basically an agricultural-based, economy.
Right.
That's what you did. Everybody kind of grew, or most people had something that they were growing, right? Whether it was just enough for themselves, right? And then, people would have actual farms, right? If you were a farmer, you probably grew multiple crops.
Right.
You had multiple animals that you were raising and, butchering or whatever. And you would kind of, grow enough for your family to eat. And then whatever you had that was extra, you would take it to the market and you would sell it, right?
Yeah.
And so that was what the economy was, right?
Right. So to me, it's kind of over the decades and millennia of how people have survived is through these markets and bazaars, and this is not an American thing. This is a worldwide thing.
Middle Eastern, Indian bazaars.
And so now we have this phenomenal thing out in East Texas at Canton, where the first Monday they have these, I would call that kind of a bazaar, but it's just trade days in Canton, where if you're not from around here, Canton is famous for its, and I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what you call it. It's just kind of a big flea market.
Flea market's a good term.
Yeah, and it's where
on the first Monday of every month.
All these vendors come, and it's phenomenal produce. You can get farmers market there, but then they've got everything else. It feels like, including live animals that you can buy. You can get goats and sheep and whatever else. Crazy, and it's huge. So that's fun. But I do have kind of an evil theory on the
Speaking of
market.
Canton, though, now that you've jogged my memory, you grew up over in Irving.
I did.
Did y'all ever go to Trader's Village out in Grand Prairie?
Oh, yeah.
No, I remember doing that as a kid, too. That was kind of a Canton kind of thing in a way, in a certain way. Maybe a different demographic.
Pure flea market.
Flea market,
yeah. It was a flea market is a nice term for that place because it was a little sketchy.
Andrew, you don't know what a flea market is, do you?
Sure, I do.
They don't actually have fleas there,
No. It's I
Never
don't
mind then.
Yeah, I have no idea why that term exists, but anyway, that's what we grew up calling these things is because you get all kinds of crazy stuff traded there. And it was generally affordable, and then there was some form of food or farmer's market in there kind of built in as well.
Well, there's a Seinfeld episode where, George and Elaine go to a flea market and they don't invite Kramer, and Kramer gets offended, and, he didn't get to go to the flea market. And,
my gosh.
So they're all over the place.
Well, they are fun. You can find some fun junk at a flea market.
Oh, yeah.
If we could ever find one around here again. But anyway, so the farmer's market, I do, and Kevin doesn't appreciate my evil theory, but I do have an evil theory on the farmer's market and what it really means to America. And now we're seeing it come back, which is nice, which I like.
But the question is, why did it go away?
So that's my evil theory.
Yeah.
And so I've told you a lot about my grandmother up in Oklahoma, right? So by the time I was of age where I could drive, I'd get up there and Grandma would say, she'd say, "Kyle, take me to the Walmart." And I'm like, "What?" She'd say, "Take me to the Walmart."
With a K?
With a K. I'm like, "Okay, Grandma, we need to go in there and get some stuff." She's like, "Yeah, I got to go in there and get some stuff." So anyway, the Walmart and Home Depot and all these other stores, I think, have, that retailization of America has really driven a lot out of the farmers markets, kind of the need for the farmers markets. I'm not saying anything. I mean, hey, I love Walmart and Home Depot as much as the next guy. But so that's my evil theory is that the retailization of America, when it really kind of built up and out all these mega stores, the Walgreens and all the other things, because some of the kind of the Norman Rockwellism of America really faded away in my mind. And I'm just tickled to see things like the farmers markets still stand strong because I think they're kind of iconic for just American trade and just people getting back together to really kind of the roots of kind of how we live off the land and we try to support each other in a very local way versus some of the trends that have occurred over the decades.
Well, and it started years ago. The Walgreens and Home Depot, all that stuff, that's kind of modern times. But, it started in, I don't know, the 1950s, maybe 40s.
Yeah.
And Kendra was talking earlier about, just after the Industrial Revolution and then the advancements in transportation, for example, right? We had railroads first,
right,
where we could take goods across a country,
That's
as
right.
opposed to just taking them to your local market.
right.
Well, now you could ship things anywhere, and then you had highway systems put in, and 18-wheeler trucks and
and airplanes and ships
airplanes
and whatever.
and now so now rather than eating vegetables that are in season where we live here in Texas, we can get anything we want year round because most of it's brought in from California. It's grown in California where they can grow it year round, put on trucks, trains, whatever, and boom, it's all over the place.
China or coffee from South America or whatever. I mean, we can get stuff from anywhere in the world right now.
Yeah, and so that kind of started with that, and then you had the supermarket appeared. I think that was kind of around the 1950s timeline.
Yeah.
Make sure. I think that was kind of in the 1950s when the supermarket came out, right?
Yeah.
And so then you had the ability to go and buy everything you needed at a grocery store, and that stuff could have been brought from anywhere, like we just described.
That's
and
right.
then it just kind of grew from there, and you ended up with the larger chains and the Walmart and then Kmart and Home Depot and the rest is history.
The concept of a self-service grocery store was developed by entrepreneur Clarence Saunders and his Piggly Wiggly stores.
Piggly Wiggly.
His
Piggly
first store
Wigglies.
opened in 1916.
But which one was actually referred to as a supermarket? That was a specific turn in history. I remember when that term came out.
Yeah.
The supermarket took it to the next level.
Right. The Piggly Wigglies and the local grocery stores, were there for decades before the supermarkets came on. They really kind of carried everything.
Well, I was growing up, and we would go to Piggly Wiggly, and we would go to there was no Walmart back then, but
we'd go over to Gibson's.
Gibson's. I was going to say we'd go to Gibson. I love Gibson's. They had the little popcorn machine and all that kind of stuff.
No, I did. I love that. But so what I love to see is that now we're going from, think about why back in the day the farmers market was so popular and loved, because it was fresh food, it was locally grown, you were supporting local farmers who worked hard for that product, who your families knew, you interacted with for years, for generations, and so you supported that. Then what has happened is now, frankly, it's kind of become cool again. So now you think of, you get all these crazy cool TV shows where these chefs are showing off their incredible abilities to make food, and it shows the chefs that are sourcing their products back to a certain farm. They're sourcing their beef back to a certain herd of cows because they love the beef or the pork or whatever that comes out of that certain farm, and they can support that.
Yeah, and it's organic, it's natural, it's not the processed food is what has driven us, and the health issues related to processed food.
So I've got something on the supermarket, and I couldn't find whenever the term was first initially used, but I found this. This comes from groceteria.com. It says the supermarket, as it came to be known, was initially a phenomenon of independence and small regional chains, and they sort of were consolidated by bigger companies. And so A&P became this is in the 1930s, the late 30s. A&P began consolidating its thousands of small service stores into larger supermarkets, often replacing as many as 5 or 6 stores with one large new one.
There you go.
By 1940, A&P's store count had been reduced by half.
Yeah.
But its sales were up.
Okay.
Interesting. Well, then the whole processed food thing, right?
Yeah.
So, once we had the ability to, have these large, supermarkets, right, and then we could ship anything from anywhere, right? Then you saw this idea of, and for convenience, right? If you think about as we get into the 1950s and, kind of how the economy was changing.
Oh, we just had frozen dinners back then.
It was TV dinners, right?
Oh
it was
gosh.
TV dinners and
horrible.
all this kind of stuff, right? Kind of the quote unquote modern, kind of. And it just became worse and worse and worse. And that affected farming too, right? So farming evolved from, having multiple kind of crops on a property to these large monocultural, farms where you had thousands of acres of a single
crop. Yeah.
year after year after year after year.
And you just ruin the land.
Deplete the land. Yeah. There's no crop rotation. There's nothing. So you're either growing corn or you're growing soybean or you're growing wheat and all that stuff is then fed to the, industrial food system, and it's all processed and turned into, Cheerios or Wheaties or,
Have you ever
granola bars or whatever?
Tangent, I apologize for this right now, but have you ever studied the Dust Bowl and what happened during that time? That's phenomenal. Because it was wheat, and the thing is that it had all been buffalo grass all through the South, and so the price of wheat was rising so much that, and we were able to, and so we had all these people come in, and the tractor just came in back in the mid 20s, and so they just turned the entire South and Midwest over and created wheat field after millions and millions and millions of acres of wheat field, turned all of that topsoil over, and that's what created this unstable environment where it was truly a dust bowl. So we created it ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have that buffalo grass that kind of kept the dirt down and kind of kept solidity to the earth, and so we did it to ourselves.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway, it's terribly interesting.
So then the whole health concerns with the process, it's just kind of this ongoing snowball of stuff, right? And so now people look at it and they're like, wow,
what chemicals am I eating in my food? What chemicals am I
eating, and why does everything have soybeans in it? And soybeans are genetically modified, and it's just this.
I'm telling you, Lord knows what I ate as a kid with those TV dinners. I mean, there is
those Hungry Man dinners.
Oh yeah,
those are good.
You could keep them in your pantry for like 5 years, and who knows? I mean,
I remember when we first got a microwave, and it was all about the chicken nuggets, man. I would come home after school every day and nuke up a bunch of chicken nuggets. The worst processed garbage you could possibly.
Yeah. Chicken.
But it was like, cool, man. Oh, I can cook these in 30 seconds.
That's right.
It's awesome. It was amazing.
They were tasty. But now the trend is totally opposite that.
And it's because of the health concerns, and also just trying to support, people want to go and, be self-sufficient, more sustainable.
So when you and Kendra go to the farmer's market up in Denton and you buy lettuce from a farmer who's like, I just grew this, and so you take a lot of pride in that. You're helping that family, be successful.
And he'll tell you, like, I was talking to the guy, he's like, we'll have this for another couple weeks, and that's donezo. And we'll have something else in here.
Right.
Which is cool. It's kind of cool.
And that goes back to my garden crop rotation that I'm terrible at. Like I just grow it all at once, and then it just fizzles out in 3 weeks. And then I'm like, well, that's it for the year. See you next year. I'm just terrible at that. Anyway, but I do love that, and so I love that the farmers markets are making a comeback, because we see them everywhere. Even, and I know you argue with me about this, that Chelsea Market up in Manhattan, again, I mean, I love going to New York City, and this Chelsea Market, it's not really a farmer's market, but it plays on that.
It's a foodie heaven. I love that place.
It is. It's so cool to go to, and there are a lot of places like that in Dallas and Austin and San Antonio, Houston, that are popping up.
Did you know the Food Network studios are right there?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they're in the second floor of that building. Food Network. That's where it's at. That's where it's based.
Well, they are cool, and
Google has a second headquarters right across the street from that.
So I don't think there's any farming going on anywhere around there, but it looks cool. You know what I mean? And it's kind of taken off of the farmer's concept.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. There's some farming going on out in rural New York, but not in Manhattan. No.
Maybe somebody's got like a little thing on top of their roof or something.
Oh, yeah.
They're growing like some tomatoes or something.
There's a lot of that. Growing some herbs out there.
They get some. They source their soil from somewhere else in the U.S., have it flown in.
Just go dig it out of Central Park.
That would be organic if you're sourcing your soil.
It's a whole nother level.
Yeah, maybe we could source our fertilizer and we could sell it to Argillian fertilizer.
It's like, where are these potatoes from? Well, technically my rooftop, but they were grown in Idaho soil.
Oh, see?
So they're basically legit.
I think so. I think so.
And you could have Georgia soil to grow your peach trees.
Right,
so you
yeah.
have Georgia peaches.
Yeah, I don't know why people aren't doing that. That's kind of a genius idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I should start a business shipping dirt.
You should.
Yeah.
And fertilizer.
Be a whole new trend.
We got plenty of it out
Include a free pack of our horse manure composted fertilizer.
That's right. That's right. Well, so maybe my theory is wrong in that the retailization of America has killed the farmer's market, because I hope that theory's wrong. So
yeah, I don't think it's killed. I think it's the whole thing, the retail, the industrial food system, just kind of that whole path we were on, that starting kind of mid last century. But I think we're starting to see the effects of that, and it's kind of starting to shift back a little bit.
Yeah.
But you got big business players that are that have a lot at stake, to keep that industry going. So it'll be around for a while.
Well,
it's good to see the local farmers kind of getting a little more.
No, I love that.
Time.
And there's plenty of opportunities. So for folks that are here in Texas or moving this way, there's a ton of them out there.
We got a lot of land out here.
Well, I'm just talking about the farmers markets.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of them that you can still find. There's the big ones, that are in the big cities. The Dallas Farmers Market
That's a big one.
It's a gigantic one, and it's awesome to go to. You can always get really cool stuff there. But then I like hearing about this kind of cool one up in Denton where they're selling meats and all kinds of other stuff.
Coppell has a good one, too.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to that one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Coppell.
Yeah.
Bartonville.
Nice.
Kendra was headed to the Coppell one when I had a meltdown on the bike one time. I rode to Denton with Chris Wood and Brian Wood, and I ate an empanada at Jupiter Coffee House.
Okay.
And I could not make it home. I made it to the...
That happens.
I made it to the subway here in Argyle. We still lived in Flower Mound.
Yeah.
Kendra had to come get me.
Oh, that happens.
I was dying.
Yeah.
I was dying.
Well,
I was a little bit out of shape.
Speaking of coffee,
that's okay.
But the empanada was good. That was a good empanada. It was really good.
So really good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Speaking of coffee, the same sort of mindset that y'all were touching on earlier about sort of knowing like where like your stuff comes from and whatnot.
Yes.
That same idea has started to pop up in coffee as well. And so like, I mean, you don't have farmers like making the coffee for you in the coffee shops, but a lot of these new coffee shops popping up nowadays, and also coffee roasting companies are really putting emphasis on like the farmer and what goes into the coffee and whatnot.
Okay.
And paying good prices to help
Right.
support the farmer.
Mhm.
It's the same
nice.
type of concept.
Are you talking,
it's a
about
very
the
big
bean
thing.
farmer?
The guy that grows the coffee beans.
Yeah.
And so those aren't going to be local guys. Those are going to be Central America or wherever.
They're Central America, but it's a movement because again, during that same industrial food era, we got into the whole Folgers canned coffee and Juan Valdez and all that industrial coffee.
Right, versus the...
Whereas prior to that, it had been people growing beans and roasting beans.
Yeah, families having...
Same concept. Then you ended up with Folgers and Maxwell House and all these massive companies, and now the movement is back away from that, kind of like what we were talking about, back to, coffee. Like when you go into Trio, you can look on those bags, and it'll tell you exactly, for the most part, what farm that came from, or at least what region it came from.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's supporting some farmer who owns his own farm, and he's growing beans, and he's selling them at some little...
good.
A lot of times they'll have co-ops where they go and they'll sell their beans to the co-op, and they'll process them and send it on. Yeah, so it's the same concept.
It'll tell you like the name of the farm, sometimes the name of the farmer. It'll have like where the region and whatnot, sometimes the city. And it'll even tell you like the altitude and how the coffee is processed as well, like the way they get the seed separated from the actual cherry part. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's no local, because you can't grow coffee around here. It will not grow.
And a big reason why people are into all that information is because that has like an effect on how the coffee tastes.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I was disappointed that I found out that I really can't grow an avocado tree here. It freezes too hard. Now, I can grow it for a couple of years, but I have to keep it inside during it freezes.
Yeah,
I love avocados.
Maybe you need to have some soil shipped in. Maybe
No,
that'll help.
California soy.
no. I'd have to have a 40-foot tall greenhouse that stays above freezing,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to build.
So I've been eating more plant-based diet lately, right? And one of the things I've been struggling with is kind of breakfast, right? Because I'm not eating eggs right now just
Oh,
for
yeah.
health reasons.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Kendra. She's like, you should start eating avocado toast.
Oh,
I'm like, okay.
Sounds
so
great.
she bought a bunch of avocados.
I love it.
You ever tried to put an avocado in a toaster?
No. Oh,
You ever tried to make avocado toast? It's
No,
disgusting.
no. I thought you're putting like a slice of avocado on a piece of bread.
Oh, is that how you're supposed to do it?
Well, kind of how it makes.
That's what I was doing wrong.
Oh.
I need to go back to the bread toast. I was like, I'm going back to the bread toast. Trying to shove this avocado in the toaster is
Oh
just
my
nasty.
gosh.
It's
Was
just
this
a mess.
Was this a joke? Again, I need somebody to explain the joke.
If somebody needs to ask if it is a joke or not,
Yeah.
might need some work.
Well,
No, it's just, bad audience. It's a bad room. It's a
I've
bad room.
always been clear with you. Jokes, not my strength. So good one on the avocado toast. So there you go. Well, hey, thanks a lot for listening to us on our ramblings around the farmers market. So we appreciate that. I love it, and I hope they survive and do well.
I do too. I need to do more to support it. Yeah, we go a couple times a year. We always talk about going more. I think we need to do a little bit more. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, I know Amy goes almost every Saturday to this one. So
The little Martinville one. That's a good one.
yeah,
That's a good one.
So okay, go support your farmers market.
That's right. So thanks for listening. Look us up on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play. Leave us a review.
All right, y'all
Adios.
Have a good week.
Bye.